What's the Dentata movie? Teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the girl?
The vagina teeth.
Yeah.
Vagina dentata. It's real.
Yeah. And it just kind of spits the dick out after.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, it did hang dong, so
It did.
it's not worse than a 4. But
How many movies did that just beat with that
Too
statement?
many.
Quite a few.
it's right under Lawnmower Man extended cut.
Oh.
Like that
Pierce
one's
Brosnan with his shirt off.
Pierce Brosnan with his shirt off, and that. Oh, I fucking got that movie. that movie. You know what? You guys should rewatch
You know,
that.
I was thinking the other day, given that AI can like simulate voices now,
Yeah.
we could
We could do a
have
whole.
the AI listen to us and then review our old stuff that we don't have videos of,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
post it as
Oh
like
my
AI
God.
of us talking
Yes.
about those movies.
You know what? Why not? Somebody else is gonna AI us eventually.
Steer into the curb.
Businesses are. Why shouldn't we? So we should,
Like, why should we do all the work? We know we already did the work too.
Right.
So like, yeah, easy.
we'll all split 4-way of ChatGPT. It's like $500 or something like that. Like, yeah, like we'll split it.
Well,
So-
Bryce has no problem throwing away.
I know, he
money.
just threw away $100
yeah, I mean,
easy.
he practically
Yeah,
bought
Mr.
his house
Raspberry.
already.
You go ahead and just take that character, that digital character that, for a free game that you play, and you go ahead and just put that money towards ChatGPT, and it'll do your job for you,
I'm
too.
never gonna put $500 into a game.
Well-
League is the only one I may have.
And that's not helping your case.
Do you
Well,
think that you've definitely spent that much on League?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Every League player has. You are all a disgusting breed. Keep that in there, Nathan. Welcome to another disgusting episode of the
Very
Evan Movie
cantankerous
Podcast.
episode.
It is. Another family-friendly, definitely aimed at children episode of the Evan Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Bryce, Nathan, Dylan, and Mason. Not in that order.
Mm-mm. You were doing really well for
I
a
know.
long
Yeah,
time.
you did.
No,
Price
yeah,
Nathan,
you did.
Dylan Mason.
Price, Dylan.
Just
You said
opposite.
Price Nathan.
Yeah, you
It
did.
doesn't matter.
Fuck, did I do it in reverse and get it
I
right?
don't know.
Please
trying to-
continue.
I'm drunk. Anyways, why am I continuing? On today's episode, Price.
It's another one of my picks. Back to back, baby.
Yeah, we pushed him down all the way to the end of the
I was
season.
gonna say, yeah.
Like a shit in the toilet, just trying to push it.
They tried pulling it out at the first of the season
Yeah.
with Marriage Story. Like, just get this one over with, please, God. And then the rest of them stayed firmly where they were. We're ending this season with a bang, besides one other
Oh,
movie.
no.
No, we're not ending a season.
I said besides one other movie.
One more.
We're curving out the season. That's the
But we are talking about Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish.
Which, for the record, the
I
name...
think it's just called Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I don't think it's
There's
called
not a
Puss
2.
in Boots 2.
Because
Oh.
I almost watched the first one, and I was like, which is which? And then I was like, what year is this
Oh,
one?
God.
And then I was like, 2022, and I was like, alright.
Yeah.
Common sense has guided me again through finding the right movie. What's this movie about, Price?
So this movie is about Puss, who is he's like
so many times in this.
he is currently the. You're gonna have to stop because we're
Sorry.
gonna be saying his
The
name
movie
a lot.
didn't. The movie didn't, so...
But anyway,
Just call him Boots.
he's at the top of his game right now. You know, like you remember the bravado from him from Shrek 2.
I don't.
I mean, pretty much if you like watch animated movies within the DreamWorks like Shrek universe, most people have seen Shrek 1, Shrek 2, and then that's it. Most people kind of hopped off at that point. So luckily, this movie kind of picks up right after that, even though there's a bunch of filler in between. Where basically Puss is at the top of his game. He gets killed, in a sense, and then he finally learns that the movie takes it literally that cats have 9 lives, that he has lost 8 of his 9 lives and is on his last one. So if he dies again, he's gone for good. So this movie is basically about him grappling with that mortality and at the same time having the chance to get this wish from, I guess, the
Mario
gods
star.
above. The Mario
Mario
star.
The Mario
It's from
star.
a wishing star.
Yeah.
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 So there's like a treasure map to it, and at the same time, there are multiple different factions trying to get this wish for themselves. There are Goldilocks and the Three Bears, which they're basically like I think the accent's called like Cockney.
Cockney accent, yeah.
Accent, and
It's
they're
like
they're
slang
like,
British.
They're a crime family, but they're like a lovable kind of crime family.
Waiting for
And then there's also There's also Jack Horner, who is voiced by John Mulaney, which is awesome, and he's just this stereotypical bad guy who just wants to kill to kill.
Was he a fairy tale?
Yes.
Yeah, Jack Warner.
Yeah, put his thumb at... they even
it's
say
like-
it outright.
Yeah, he even
Yeah.
said himself that he's like, well, it's not so much a fairy tale as much as it's a children's little rhyme.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So those 3 factions are all trying to go at the same time to get this
Yeah.
to get this wish. And basically, the movie just continues from there, and they all converge at one point, and the movie happens at that point.
I got the question already.
Okay.
We're skipping ahead. What movie?
I'm probably gonna.
It's not.
I'm gonna have
this
another
movie
wish.
at all.
No,
it's not.
No, the narrative aspects of it is with the characters. What movie?
You're gonna say Snatch.
Yes.
Thank
I'm
you.
so tired of
This-
Snatch being compared to
Snatch
every
is the best
single
movie ever, and we all know it. And every movie's copied it ever since. No, you're right. This is me being incredibly exaggerated.
Like
every
Bullet
movie that has
Train
characters
was, like,
that come together.
compared to it. Like this is being compared to it. Like,
I think
so many.
Bullet Train is a lot more like Snatch.
It's
than
similar.
this.
Yeah.
This one is not.
No, this one, if you oversimplify it, like many movies are like Snatch, and there are many movies before Snatch that Snatch is like, so that's not fair to movies. But yeah.
But for the podcast and the lore within our podcast,
Yes, within our lore
Snatch is the
podcast,
best
everything
they
is
are.
Snatch, right? And I'll tell you why. For starters, Snatch and Puss. All right, there's that.
Uh-huh.
Easy layup. The second one, the
Trump lovers unite.
You know what? Here's the one that actually put me way over on being like, it's just trying to be Snatch, is because the Cockney accents. Because I swear one of them even sounds like one of the black British actors in Snatch, where I was just like, a baby sounded so much like one of the people in that crew, where I was just like, where's Boris? Where is he? When are they going to kill a character several times? And it turns
Puss.
out it was Puss.
They did.
Yes. Quit taking the piss, boots.
Quit taking the piss, Puss.
Right. So, anyways, that comparison roughly out to the side. So Bryce had been saying, a little preamble. Bryce had been saying for a long time, guys, this movie, best movie. It's the greatest movie that's ever been
I
made.
went and saw it in theaters based on like because this movie was on my radar at all when this movie came out, but then like critics and everyone just exploded like, this is a movie you need to see. I'm like, well, I like the Shrek universe already, so
Like is an understatement.
I'll give it a shot. Yes. So I went to go see it, and as soon as I got done, I started rambling to them that they needed to go see it. But I think I told y'all that I'm gonna put it on the wheel anyway.
Yeah,
so, like,
you said you were going to put it on.
you'll be fine. But I've been raving about this movie since it came out last year.
So, boys, what do we think?
I like the fairy tale. It's kind of like the Once Upon a Time type thing, like the show.
Yeah, like
where
the
they
show.
just keep throwing like random timelines and like situations in where Goldilocks, does this with her life, and then like it might change.
They have like a lot of different characters kind of popping in,
Yes.
or like
Yeah.
items from other
others.
like stories. So like the Excalibur still in the stone,
Yep.
Yeah.
and Jiminy Cricket.
Yep.
And
Jiminy Cricket might have been the best part.
Jiminy Cricket is pretty great. Oh no, you shouldn't be evil. You're evil. Yeah.
Think about your consequences.
You're irredeemable. Yeah, Jiminy Cricket's actually really good. Like,
and he wasn't credited as Jiminy Cricket.
No.
He said conscious bug.
Bug,
Yeah.
yeah. Even though Pinocchio is straight up in the movie when
Well,
compared
and
to
they
Jack
got
Warner
like
too.
Snow White's carriage too.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Like what was the name of the plum kid?
Jack Horner.
That's
Jack
Horner,
Horner.
yeah.
So he has
I thought
acquired
that might
like
have been Jack
this
and the
whole
Beanstalk.
story.
I don't know
I
who
guess
that
is that
was.
he's been acquiring every magical item in the entirety of like
Fable
fairy tale
world.
lore.
Bullying them out of it. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's got like the hand of Midas and just like
As soon as
anything.
I saw that.
He's got the cookie and the drink from Alice in Wonderland. Like, I mean, he's got it all, and he's using it. He's just got a big old rucksack full
Yeah.
of tricks for fighting.
He literally has the rucksack from Harry Potter, where he's just an infinite bottomless
Yeah.
well of it. Yeah, so I'll go my way to say that, like, all right, if I'm being honest, I enjoy what this movie does with Fable lore, right? But I've realized I enjoy many takes on what else would this story look like once what we know is done, right? Because it's why I enjoy Fable, the game, and like those sense of comics. And I think what this movie kind of does pretty good with it is that it grounds itself a little bit more, and it doesn't make everything so ridiculous, right? Like, fables are kind of ridiculous by nature, but they make the ridiculous normal instead of just living in it. Where Shrek, for instance, everything in comedy tend to be very exaggerated. So I don't think that we never got a really grounded take on, like, the fact that, like, Goldilocks literally just gets adopted by bears, like, and they play that straight, right? So, like, whereas in, like, Shrek, like, Baby, I think, is even referenced in the cage one point, like, in the original one, right? The three bears are, like, there's one point in that where he's like,
Yeah.
Mommy, we're, like, that's him back, but he definitely doesn't sound the same.
Yeah.
No Cockney accent in Shrek. So, in that one, it's more of a reference for a joke for the most part, with this movie, I do appreciate that it did keep it kind of grounded because it does what I like with Fable's storytelling, kind of turning it on its head and making it more human. That said, I think the character I want to talk about the most is Death, because like Jiminy Cricket's probably the best character in like levity, but I think like Death is just done really good.
Yeah.
Like him being a wolf coming in, and it felt very like right off the cuff, like tone shift, everything dropped. And what I will say the movie probably does best is, again, tone. Is that while it's still playing with fantastical elements and stuff like that, it's very much a grounded human story, using Puss in Boots as a narrative for, like, life. And, like, having your experience to change and grow and be a better person and knowing your mistakes, which, you know, appeals to the therapist, I won't lie.
Well, and they had the best setup. I mean, they had a cat, which, like we said earlier, has 9 lives, and it showed all of the situations where
and how
they lost one.
And those were
all so
hilarious.
dumb.
Yeah.
No, I'm with Nathan. Everyone, I did not enjoy
Like I wish
most.
they
What?
weren't all that dumb.
But that's how Puss is. Like,
I was
that's
gonna
how
say,
he
he's
is. Like,
very cocky and
his
confident.
bravado is what got him killed in every single one of them. Like,
Yeah.
when he's getting chased by the bulls, he stops to talk to a girl because he thinks he's invincible, gets flattened. That's one of his.
What about the
deaths.
night of drinking one?
He thinks he's invincible and, like, he can drink all that he wants.
And then he jumps off the...
And then he jumps off. He said cats always land on their feet. And then, like, it plays it for a joke and he dies.
I will
that one
say,
time.
I'm with Nathan in that those were largely pretty dumb, although relevant to the character, I understand. The one that actually did humor me, though, was the playing poker
With the dogs?
and they're just all like...
Because that's from that painting, you know.
Yeah, right, I get it, I
And
get
he's
it,
got,
yeah.
like 5 aces.
Yeah, he's got 5.
Obviously
Well,
cheating.
boys, I guess it's not your day. There's just a bunch of angry dogs around him, and I was like, alright, that one's pretty good.
And then where he's like eating like shellfish or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, does this have shellfish? It's like, yeah, and he's just like,
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that definitely lightened up the movie.
Right.
The thing I love the most about Death, and I knew he was going to get brought up because I brought up this quote, which I think does so much for this movie, is when, like, I think it's when he's in with the cave with the crystals or whatever.
yeah.
And, like, he says, no, Puss says, you are no bounty hunter, you are, and then Death says death. And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or any other fancy way. I'm Death.
Yeah.
And it's like, that just clears up so much. Like, there's no confusion on whether or not he's like some embodiment of death that can't die or like anything like that. He's just this really powerful character who just
I don't know if they
sees himself as
needed
dead.
that. I mean,
I
thought it was fairly evident that he was literally like in with a crowd, like in the back seat, you know, like in the background. He had those, were they sights?
Sickles.
Sickles, that's it. And I mean, he had red eyes, like he was constantly following him.
See, I would think it's a manifestation of Puss's like
Mortality.
like
trauma,
in his mental
of his mortality.
state
I would think it's
versus-
something mental, but when he said that, I was like, oh, I love that they cleared that up.
So-
if anything, they could have left that one out. I don't like that quote at all.
I'm distinctly in the middle between both of you guys on this one, where I remember thinking, I'm like, no, I think that's fine. Like, again, if for people who are like, is this like a Nolan thing or something, or is this going to be a real thing? And I'm like, okay, sure. So he's clarifying that he is here, he is real, and then later everybody sees him and stuff like that.
I was gonna say, if anything,
Right.
at the very end, finally somebody saw him.
But they play that in the beginning and everything throughout, right? Up until this point, the only person who's reacting to death is Puss.
it's only Puss.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm like, okay, is it just he's seeing death because he's the only one that's like facing his mortality?
But in any other movie, we would like something like that.
Sure. Yeah. And
I don't know why this one would be so different.
I think in this because for me it just doesn't take me out of it. Like for Price, he looks at it as a boon. I'm in the middle where I'm like, it didn't take me out of it. And knowing it's a kids movie, it's like maybe the kids can't wrap their head around the
I was
symbolism.
gonna say, if anything, the kids don't need to know that it's
Nathan seems like he likes it too. He just hasn't said anything.
Nathan, where are you at on it? We've got the whole
I mean,
spectrum here.
I liked it. I don't understand
It's
the
on the left
problem
side.
with it.
Yeah.
I'm on this side of that, I guess.
Because like in any other movie, like this would be the manifestation of his emotions that he's running through right now.
Yeah,
and in
his
this one, it's just
concern
like
for
I'm
dying.
just like I'm death. Like I
Sure, it would purely
I'm
be
just
symbolic,
super- yeah.
right? Yeah, instead of it.
like those Banshees of Inisherin movie. Like I was just like,
Oh my God,
why is this
no.
old woman
What a
running
great
around?
movie.
Like I don't understand what the point of her is.
It's
Yeah.
not strengthening his case.
No. So
Do we want to shift towards the animation style? Because I I'm kind of curious, and I don't know if that just wasn't if it was just like the aspect that I was watching it in or not. But it seems like the combat kind of like changed frame rate.
It does.
Yeah,
it lowers the frame
it
rate
drops,
to emphasize the action, which I love.
I thought
Spider-Man was the one that did it.
Spider-Verse was the one that really revolutionized that concept, and now this is like the kind of movie that springboarded off of its success.
Literally the same exact animation for the action, and I don't hate it for it, but it is a little jarring whenever you're seeing everything feel so smooth, and then it's just pixel drop, because that's the video gamer in us. That's kind of like the frame rate's dropping. Like, it's when you play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the Sunflora are chasing you. It wasn't that bad, but it was noticeable in a way that I feel like can be jarring if you care about that.
I found it to be like I found it a style choice that made things look better ultimately. In my opinion.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, because it emphasizes when the frames are cut like that. Like, it kind of emphasizes the frames that are on screen.
Yeah.
And with the like beautiful choreography that it has through all the action scenes, especially the first one with the giant. Like, watching that kind of blow by blow and then like slowing down whenever something like was really going to happen.
Yeah.
I loved it, and it like really lets the color pop off. It lets all the animation and like the
some of the details too, like his fur raising up every time he saw death. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just little intricate things that were like, all right, cool, yeah.
I would say this. Speaking of like the action, really quickly though, the first fight with Death, I don't know if I like it or not. Not the action's good, but it felt way too anime for this movie to a degree for me. You know, like, I watched it, and if you watch an anime fight,
the directors purposefully made, especially that last fight with Death, like they wanted to make it like anime.
Yes, I was like,
it felt.
We're feeling very tongue-in-cheek anime right now, and I'm like, I don't know if I like it or not, but I don't know if I hate it. So there's my indifference yet again with this. But I thought the action, overall was pretty good with it. Deaths in specific definitely sticks out in the fight with the boss or with the big giant in the beginning. Jack, I want to talk about Jack for a second. I don't know about Jack.
He's the MVP. I don't
know about Jack.
I'm kind of in between too. I'm not sure.
There are
it was
the
good,
trend of every animated movie right now, especially with Disney movies right now, is to make every villain seem like they have like a good cause and like they're misunderstood or they're really not that bad or something.
Chaotic
like
good here.
I wouldn't even say chaotic good, where they're like good people with bad intentions or something like that. Like, I love that this movie just has a purely like
pure evil.
in the black and white.
You're
sense,
awful.
Like he's just pure black. He's just like all evil. Like,
so there's
nothing good about him.
There's him, but then they also have another villainous like group in the Bears and Goldie, and those are the ones that are your more traditional like. Oh, you can understand the whole thing, and like
this
you can relate, I guess.
Yeah,
but I think it's perfectly fine to have like a just outright villain.
If anything, that he added so much more comedy to it. I mean, like what was it? The Baker's Dozen. That's what his group was.
All right, that was good. Yeah.
And my God, he went from like having 12 down to 2 to
1.
One.
Are you chatty?
Yeah.
He said no.
Yeah, but and with the Goldilocks, like, for me, like, the only reason I saw them as villains a little bit in a sense was that their goals clashed with the protagonist's
They're antagonists,
goals.
right? They're not.
They're
villains.
antagonists. They're not bad. Like, they don't kill anybody. They don't hurt anybody. They don't do anything. They're just.
It kind of implies that they would if they had the opportunity, though. Like, they're like.
But you never see them do it.
Sure,
they seem like.
They definitely talk about being
family.
criminals.
Good-natured
crime family.
Yeah,
they love being criminals, but it's like you love to watch it. You know, like you support for them.
You know what? No, they like being criminal until the Papa Bear gets a good share.
Yeah, and then he's kicking.
And he's back home at the cottage. Then they turn into a good old fashioned family.
Yeah, good old Oakland family.
Well, and even like they subvert your expectations on that at the beginning when Puss is at the. When he's at the retirement home for cats or whatever, and the crime family's about to bust in and like lightning's going and thunder and like it's real dark and you see their silhouettes, and then they come in and like the dad's playing the piano real goofy and the mom is just like it. You just immediately know who they are, which is another thing I really like about this movie is that this movie had every opportunity to have the trope of one person like a lot of movies have that trope of you can solve the problem by having one conversation and then the whole movie's done with. This movie had that opportunity to withhold information from character speaking to another character and letting that draw out, but it didn't. like with the three bears or whatever, they could have had the opportunity to draw them out till you realize they were good, but you realize that pretty immediately. And the most specific instance is between Kitty and Puss about telling her about death, about why Puss is running away and everything, and he didn't need to tell her for the longest time until
Kitty the black one?
Softpaws.
Yeah, Softpaws.
Until he takes off with the map. And then they have that scene, which we'll talk about here in a minute, I'm sure. But at the end of the movie, when he has opportunity to make a wish, he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm out of lives. Like, death is coming for me.
Yeah.
And I'll just love that he told, like, they didn't withhold that information.
Unironically, death is coming. Not figuratively, not metaphorically.
All of the areas.
I'm going to talk about Softpaws really quick.
Is that the dog?
She's the girl. Girl cat.
What
we haven't talked about the dog yet.
Burrito. We're getting
Burrito.
Yeah,
Burrito.
Do you all remember
Yeah,
names?
Burrito's the bro. Two people who watch movies. And no, they say it in the Spanish name, but it's burrito.
Well,
Burrito.
Burrito.
okay.
Yeah. So Softpaws is okay.
We call Dobby that all the time. I'm positive that's his name.
No, the word for dog in Spanish, it's like...
Oh, Doge.
No. It sounds a lot like burrito, but it's not.
It maybe probably.
But anyway, Dylan, please continue.
Softpaws is very okay. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about her.
Pero.
Pero.
Pretty sure it's Pero.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Somebody fact check us on that one later. I'll check Peacock. Or I watched this legally. I promise. And
Pero or Para.
yeah, so the dog is okay. The one character that gets to use a bunch of bleeps, which really quick, did we like that? Did we not like that?
I love Burrito because again, this is another thing where the movie had the chance to make this like the goofy, Scrappy-Doo kind of character and just make him for comic relief. Whereas this character had a lot of depth to him, and you learned a lot about him.
Genuine and endearing.
He's just
100%.
Okay. If you want to talk about exposition, though, there's at one point the dog basically just lays it all out for you, and you're just like, oh my god.
They tried to kill the dog.
They basically killed this dog in his mental state.
Yeah.
And he is barely hanging along.
Right.
With it.
They took 1 minute to tell a very good joke and give his whole background.
Yeah.
In that short time.
It's efficient. I'll give them that.
No,
I liked it.
One thing that I would say like Pixar and Disney do very, very, very often in most of their movies is, what do you have? A sidekick, right? In Moana, it's the little
chicken.
I thought it was Moana.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was Moana.
I thought it was Burrito.
The main character's The Rock in that movie, right?
No, but like, you know, they took a pretty good.
That's the name of the chicken.
Yeah.
But yeah, this sidekick was very cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't too annoying. That's another issue that sometimes you have with those sidekicks.
Yeah.
Like the chicken for me wasn't all it in Moana.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Pero was good, or Burrito, whatever.
This dog
this
dog.
I'm 95% sure they call it Pero.
I'm 100% sure it's Burrito.
Before they name him Burrito, they call him Pero.
I had subtitles on.
Did you have some? Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was pretty.
All right.
And he had one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Burrito would make even
my
more
favorite
sense
parts
too.
of the movie where he gets captured by the
bears.
crime family.
Yeah.
And then Goldilocks and Baby start throwing insults at each other, and he's just in the background the whole time because he's just like is wanting a family the whole time. Like he's just wanting friends. He loves that camaraderie that they have, and he even tells them at one point, he's like, "You have a great family right here," and he loves it when they're going back and forth at each other with insults.
He's smiling the whole time.
He's smiling. He's like, "Oh, that was a good one," and then they're like, what are you doing? Like,
they're razzing him.
And then call him like an ugly dog. He's like, okay, now it's time for me to
Yeah. And it just bleeps for the next like minute.
And then the dad's just like, I like the cut of his chin.
Yeah. Most of the characters are in this are pretty good. Like, I'll give credit to this movie. I'm giving a little credit to this movie.
Here's my thing though. Yeah, we say most of the characters are good.
Yeah.
I think that like Puss's character was pretty alright.
Yeah.
But everyone else sort of kind of outshined him, in my opinion. But that's not his fault. That's just very, very good characters everywhere.
But
else.
that's really good. That's like I'd take that conceit.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
in Shrek 2, he's very like over the top and
monopolizing the time.
like
I hate it.
He's good in like the amount of time he's in Shrek, which I'm glad that he got that little bit of time, and then he kind of took off from there. But they toned it down for this movie.
Yeah,
they had good characters to do it for too.
I think that's a good standard move for a sequel too, right? Like you're sitting here and saying like he got his whole movie. You do like any more of him, that's great, but like we're using him more as a narrative device for the story, and we're using all the rest of this time to let the side characters of this world exist. And I think that's, again, talking about where I've said before, like where my big love of this movie is the playful way of where they're doing, turning the like fables on their heads and how they're interacting.
What do you think about the world in, like, once they get into the Black Forest? The way it's just like can completely change based on.
I really like that it's depending on whose journey it is.
That was just a perfect opportunity for them to be like lots of visuals, lots of
really
over the top visuals.
Yeah. The biggest instance I can think of that was that awesome fight scene where they it's like Jack Horner and his men versus the crime family versus Puss.
Oh yeah.
And they're all fighting, and then I think like Goldie picks up the map, and then like in the middle of all the colors, like the unicorn horns exploding, everything like that, like she picks up the map and completely changes it. So while all that's going on, the map's changing, the background.
I would say overall, I think it's just good.
Cool.
It's like smart storytelling too, right? Like we're sitting here and reinforcing the idea of like, what are these characters, like, where are these characters falling on the good and evil scale? And it's like, pure good dog, easy journey, the path of no worries, like
the field of posies.
Yeah, the field of posies. There's one of like easy solutions.
The gentle,
easy solutions.
Like, riding down the gentle stream.
Yes. And then it's like Puss in Boots and Softballs is like this miserable path.
Well, I don't think it's like I wouldn't classify theirs as miserable. I would classify it as extremely challenging.
Yes,
because that's what they are looking for in life. Is extreme challenge.
Whereas, and I think it's both it's a description. It's doing backstory and telling you who the character is without having to info dump on it, right? Which I think is smart, right? And it felt organic to the story.
Which is also why the house showed up whenever Goldilocks was the one that was holding the wish map.
Of course, we're talking about somebody trapped in her past, so of course we're going to bring it to her past, which I liked, overall, I think that, like, the crowd that probably wins me over the most from, like, start to finish actually probably is the Goldilocks story. Like,
interesting.
Jiminy,
that was my least favorite.
Jiminy's great. Death is good, and while those characters are great, it's like, but those are great for their little moments and what they do for, like, the story, humor, and, like, the true, villain, so to speak, of the story. But then when we're talking about, like, overall, like, who am I enjoying the most time with? Like, Burrito's great, the crew is good, but, like, man, the Goldilocks crew, maybe it's the time I've worked with, like, kids and foster care stuff, but it's just, like, a good orphan story is just fun. Like...
And it makes sense with that fable, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, turn it on its head, we're like, of course you would want a normal human family.
Right. Bro, like, listen, it's not that I don't love you bears, it's just that, like, I grew up without a family, can I get some real people in there? They're like, it's an us all along. And that could have been done very bad, right? Like, that could have easily cheesed out by, like, making them all three be very good, ambiguous characters of, like, their, like objectively, they're a bad influence on Goldie, right? Like, she was an innocent child, and now she's a crime lord, like, so there's something to be said about, but you kind of love the travel along the way with it. So I thought that in itself was just, like, the most endearing and entertaining for me overall.
She was someone famous, too.
Goldilocks? Oh,
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the part that got me the most, and, like, the whole movie, like, while I was watching this the first time, like, I realized it was really special. But the part that I was like, this is something really different was when they had that fight or whatever in the map world, and Puss takes off with it because he sees death
for the fourth time.
And then he basically has like a panic attack in a kids movie.
Yeah.
And Burrito comes on.
They
and, like,
Last of Us.
And like just put his head on it.
That's a very standout.
I honestly I think the last time I like had ever like kind of cried or anything during a movie was that freaking Zach story.
Dear Zachary.
Dear Zachary.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like cry like that, but like I did tear because I was like, that's really good.
Mason didn't.
All Carol wanted to do was to be like a therapy dog.
Therapy dog. He's like, rub my belly. He's like, no.
So him coming over and just sitting there and then doing what a therapy dog.
And not doing it in an annoying way, like coming up with his belly, being like the joking character.
Right.
He was like, he realized what Puss was going through.
The movie played
all
it straight. Right.
Oh, it's so good.
Because I think that's where my biggest crux with I agree. I forgot about it, so I'm glad you brought that up. But says the therapist, right? So, but I think overall, again, talking about where this movie goes right instead of going left so often, and kind of my love-hate relationship with Shrek at this point is like, well,
it's always going left.
It's almost always going left, but look at what the potential happens when you actually go right. Like when you can play it grounded, play it straight. This could be a very hell, you could make this like a really truly like a strong young adult tone series where it keeps its tone but still playful enough for like kids to be able to enjoy it. Like this could be like and not even just Puss in Boots, right? Just like the whole Fableverse in general, like the way they've set it up, could really be like a handful of place for like stories and stuff like that. But too often, I think directors want to just cheese it up. So
it could, except for Jack Horner literally stole every single item
Yeah.
of importance.
This is why you go prequels, right? You could go a little before
Like
all that
somehow
happened.
this man has everything.
How he got the hand from Midas from Aladdin 2 was beyond me.
And I love Jack
Sorry,
Horner
Aladdin 3.
so
King of
much.
Thieves.
The best interaction between for Jack Horner for me was when Jack Horner was talking to Jiminy Cricket or whatever, and Jimmy was like, "Are you gonna shoot that puppy?" And like, yes, right in the face.
Right
That's
in the
exactly
face.
where I'm gonna shoot him.
Oh my god! Yeah. I think more than anything, I just like being able to do Jimmy Cricket's voice. Oh gosh!
I mean, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Why couldn't I have been that voice actor?
I loved it. John Mulaney as him was absolutely perfect.
The funny thing is,
So good.
I won't lie, I did not recognize John Mulaney in that role.
That's good. I'm like a really big fan of his. So
Yeah,
of course,
I like Mulaney,
but that's good.
But it's good that you can blend behind a character because it's when you sound too much just like yourself. It's kind of like Will Smith when he acts. You know what I mean? He just shows up in his Will Smith.
Like Shark Tale?
Yes,
Ooh,
exactly.
now there's a movie.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro's in it. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So also just playing himself.
Queen Latifah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know what her character
think it's-
is.
The sexy fish. Anyway.
Anyways.
Sorry.
Next segment. Fair?
Yep.
We've been on this. We've been talking about this movie. I think we've covered everything.
I'm good.
Fat, thin, perfectly fit. I can't describe it legally. Mason.
This movie's pretty darn fit. I don't know if there's anything that I'd really take out much of. Maybe him at the little cat shelter. But I do understand that that's like a
You
he
need
has
the,
to
You need the valley before the
exactly.
picture,
You kind of need that like lull of he's this guy. Him going to the doctor and him basically I don't know. Like telling the doctor that he's invincible, and then
Bro,
the
you're
doctor
gonna
giving
be
him the
dead.
news.
Like,
yeah, like it was that turned into basically him running away to the cat shelter, which maybe could have trimmed that up a little bit, but I get it. There was just
Weird
this
place to hide.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hide with the place where all the cats
You
are.
talk about where Annabeth lives in Shrek World.
Yeah, exactly. She's definitely that character.
maybe if you trim that down, though, maybe.
I mean, she doesn't have any cats.
Yeah. Well, that's because you guys legally prevent her from doing so. But no, I'm with you. I think that the movie is fairly fit, but if I had to take anything out, it's the beginning of this movie. The beginning of this movie is easily the worst part. It feels like a point in
The
that
giant fight?
the giant fight is fine, but the song part, the song part in the beginning,
Who is your favorite?
I didn't care for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with
Then the
you.
governor came in.
Yeah.
It's mi casa es su casa. No.
Su casa, mi casa. Yeah. Didn't care for it.
Yeah, I'm with him. On that one.
It felt like it just like that for me. Like the quality of like feels like a point plus difference of like how much I'm liking the movie here versus how much I'm liking the movie by the time we're getting into it.
Well,
To me, I feel like that start is there in case you've not seen any other.
Yes.
Sure, it makes you
Like,
really
you don't
feel
know
like
who
you're
Puss
going.
in Boots is.
Yeah.
That is his character through and through.
And I get the purpose of it, so I can't like take it.
Oh,
so.
and then he drinks that coffee during the fight and throws it down and gets amped up. And keeps
Yeah.
going. Oh, there's so much in it.
The one takeaway from that scene, by the way, is the dog pile not working on Puss in Boots.
Oh yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, he's like, dog piles don't work on cats. I'm like, fuck you, Puss in Boots. But yeah, otherwise it's fairly fit. I don't know where I would take stuff from it. Give me more Goldilocks. So actually, I would almost argue I could probably take more of it. A little bit thin.
I don't see anywhere that I would add or subtract from this movie. I think it's perfectly fit.
I'm
solid all the way through.
I agree. I think it's fit as well, and I know that's like a cop out to say on a movie you really like, but if I said thin, that means I want more of something. And like I think Jack Horner's in it for the amount he needed to be
Any more
as
Jack
great a
would
character
be
for me. I think
He's already in it.
Puss. I think they gave everybody adequate screen time. If anything, I would want more depth
More Jiminy.
in a sense.
Yes.
But I don't know. It's fit. I think
More
it did everything
conscious
well.
bug.
Yeah,
More conscious bug.
My question I had for this movie was, if you watch, like, actually it's at the very end of the movie, you see that they're going to Far, Far Away, and it plays the Shrek theme and everything.
Yeah.
Where do you want to see, because it's going to, like, I can't imagine it's going to be a next Shrek movie, I think. I think it's going to go back to Shrek
I don't
World,
want
all
another
that
one.
stuff.
We don't
I
need
don't
more.
want it.
What
Giving us
what
more
do you
Shrek.
want to see from, like, the direction, I guess, of Shrek going forward? Knowing Shrek and this movie.
Less.
Well, if you recall from that article that I
Yes.
sent you, they're going to be making Shreks 5 through 10.
Yeah.
That was a...
December 2022 was
I
finest.
don't want to live on this planet anymore.
No, yeah.
That was parody. That's not real.
Too Fast, Too Shrekking.
Yeah,
like
So
in the
paid
Fast
more,
12
They paid more
movie.
for Shrek than they did Pixar. It's like-
yeah.
But sorry, like, what would you want to see going forward? In all honesty,
Less.
More Fables.
More Fables, less Shrek.
Lose Shrek, lose Puss in Boots. Even at this point, he's done his role of like.
But
putting
my
us
thing
here.
is, if you add another character that me personally I don't care much for, being Shrek and Fiona and Donkey. Then that's even
Dragon.
less of Jack and
No, the
Goldilocks and all of these cool characters like Jiminy Cricket and all these fun, like even Death.
Right.
You know?
It's
if
going to
you
be
add-
the Avengers. Of
It
I know,
is,
wait
and I don't
for it.
want it.
That's what's
And
going
I don't want
want
it.
it.
I don't
fuck
want
out.
it.
the
As a
Adventures
com-
of Shrek.
Even the comic nerds don't want it. We don't want. Stop it.
I mean, it could do that. Like I feel like that's the direction I could see.
Well,
Well, it's a
I'm
cash
with you.
grab.
Going back
It is.
there would lead.
But
to-
what would you just not call it like Shrek 5 at that point, right? Because all of it is rooted in Shrek, right? It's all like.
Well,
if we're,
I mean, yeah.
if we're
yeah,
calling
I'm
it an
saying
Avengers movie, it's a
Shrek
Shrek.
5,
Hey,
and
I
it's
got the
them
title.
getting the crew back together to fight some big evil.
Oh.
I got it. Get Shrek'd.
Ah, so good.
Get
I-
Shrek'd.
I like Shrek: Age of Puss.
I just can't imagine.
Puss of Age.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine Shrek being animated in this style. Because this is such a departure from like
Oh,
how
yeah.
Shrek was
Yeah.
animated. All of it. I
It
mean,
would be scary.
Shrek-
It would look
lumpy.
terrifying.
Shrek 1 through 4 like is all in
There's
one.
4 of them?
There's
one
4?
is one style.
There's 2.
I just can't imagine it being.
No, Shrek the Third.
Oh, sorry, they're having their
I
podcast
didn't
over
see
there.
it.
They're
I didn't know there was
continuing
4.
podcasts.
I didn't know there was 3.
I knew there was a third because there's a Shrek the Third. But
Yes,
yeah.
just ask the person. I can
I don't
enlighten you
want
on
I don't want to.
everything.
I don't believe you. I only listen to his news about Shrek.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I personally I don't know what I want from the. I think like Dylan was saying, like Shrek is a lot more like going left all the time, where it's just going to the comedy aspect, and it does have a few of those heartthrob moments. Whereas that's more of what Puss is, and that's what I liked a lot more. So if they could somehow balance that, like, I don't know how, but like that's what I would want from it.
See, that's my issue, is that Puss is balanced. Any unbalancing of this is unbalanced. And that's kind of where my concern is with it. So, like, what if you're asking me what I want, when I'm saying I don't want it, I mean I don't want it. I don't want Shrek. I don't want Puss in Boots anymore. His
No.
story's told.
Yeah.
Good ending. Let him do his thing. You have a bajillion Fable characters
if
that you can play
anything,
with.
Don't make one. This is
Yeah.
a beautiful ending if you just leave it alone.
Yeah.
You know
Like,
what?
Yeah, but it ends with them.
It doesn't
It is
matter.
a sequel
Easy.
bait.
Like it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
I know, but I'm just saying, like movies do this all the time, where it's like, oh hey,
Yeah.
and nothing.
You know
which
what?
is fine.
You know what this actually could be.
What?
You actually just wrap this around to be the prequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's it. They're Far Far Away is actually the human world,
That's what Dylan wants.
and then you just put. Oh, dude, I'll pick it again.
I mean,
I love that movie.
there's definitely
Yeah.
a human world element with the cat lady.
Yeah.
She's very normal with a bunch of very normal cats.
Mhm. And she's just a
Yeah,
human
And
living in
she's
the Fable
worried
world.
about like the government taking away her cats. So
Yes.
there is definitely a normal.
I done
human
told
world.
y'all.
Yeah. Get to the safe room. They're all in the closet.
Like we trained.
Yeah.
That was
Trained
another.
their cats.
See, that was another good line from that cat part, was where Perito meets Puss for the first time.
Uh-huh.
He's like, hey, I'm a friend or whatever. And Puss is just like, no habla inglés.
Yeah.
And he's like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, speak Spanish. He's like, I don't speak Spanish either.
Actually, there was something. The other one part that I actually found really, really funny was the fact that it took me longer than I cared to admit to realize it was a dog wearing a cat hat, like at the cat house. And like Hannah, spoiler, Hannah actually sat down and was just kind of like organically just started watching this with me, and then was like, look at that cat hat, and I'm like. That's really good. Like, way deep into the cat part with it, where I was like, all right, that's actually very funny. Like, subtle humor is much funnier than bombastic Shrek humor. I said it. Quit trying to make more Shreks. Stop.
Shrek humor's a lot different.
Maybe
Yes.
maybe the next Shrek takes a different path. They've spent many years doing this different style.
Yeah.
So.
Is this going to be the Cars 3 of Shrek, where the trailer looks dark as shit? Have you guys seen that
Donkey
trailer?
gets killed.
Yeah, Donkey gets killed. This is John Wick as Shrek.
Actually,
Actually,
I just recently watched Cars for the first time ever. I'd never seen
You?
it.
I had
Yeah.
The Disney
Cars
man?
is solid.
Yeah, I was
You especially.
surprised.
You're the biggest Disney fan here.
Easily.
Comparatively?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Between all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm next, but like it's not close. So anyway,
Scores!
Mason.
I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really, really good. And I will say that if Puss was on the screen much more than what he was, especially with soft paws and stuff like that, I probably would start going down in my score because I genuinely don't much care for his character. I didn't care for him in Shrek. Mm-hmm. Didn't care for him at the beginning of this movie. I'm glad that you mentioned that. He's just this very like loud character, obsessive and just I don't know. He was very very to himself.
Yes.
But anyways, everything else in this movie did it really really well. The final fight scene where the death kind of created that like
little
that zone.
Arena.
Yeah, exactly, that arena.
And that anime fight.
Yes, it was solid, and I think I know I said it. The villains had a lot of screen time, but it worked so well.
Mm-hmm.
All of the Baker's Dozen people just keep dropping like flies, like literally like off the bridge.
Felt like there was way more than a dozen.
They were the bridge.
They were the bridge. No, you're right. There was at least like 20
and then it broke and a bunch of people died, and that's when the Jiminy Cricket guy was like, "Oh, my
people died!"
Yeah. But yeah, this one did it well. I mean, even some of those like formula type things happen, like the sidekick and the final boss and everyone coming together to defeat the bad guy at the very end. Whatever. Even though the bad guy wasn't really death at the end.
Yeah,
it was
Jack.
Jack
it
was still remains to be Jack,
which was cool.
Yeah, Jack's everybody's villain, but Death is only Puss.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Death, if anything, if you wanted to quote Death, like the very last thing was kind of cool, and maybe not quote him, but he was just like, I was really looking forward to you, like trying to take care of me and trying to, just you being you, but now I'm gonna let you,
This is disappointing. This is not who
exactly.
I came for, right?
And he he turned around, he just walked away, which was cool.
And Puss threw back the pick it up thing.
Yes, that was such a cool power move.
Bar.
Yes. But yeah, at the end of the day, I give this movie an 8. I think that it's a very solid movie from an animated studio that I don't give a whole lot of credit to.
Nope.
But yeah, an 8 I think is very nice, and it's on Peacock, and maybe it'll stay on there.
Yeah,
I'll put this on again, just hanging out.
I wouldn't. It's probably not gonna end up in the background as often as Never Back Down for me, but
yeah. But you know what's gonna be fun if it is on in the background and you hear
8.5.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna hear Jiminy Cricket in the background. You're gonna be like, yeah, that's what I needed.
Oh no! Yeah. Which is now going to be a voice I will use for the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, that sounds like the gingerbread man. Do you think they got the
it's
same
right
guy?
around the same tone. That's what I was just thinking.
The gingerbread man.
No, my gingerbread. It's a little bit higher. No, my gingerbread buttons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the movie for a second. He's in
the
death in the death scene where he's like baking
cooking
something.
Yeah.
It's too hot. And the other Shrek reference was when Jack Horner's doing his background or whatever, and it shows Pinocchio.
Pinocchio was
over there.
Yeah, competing.
Making all the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, to nobody's surprise, I think me and Mason usually line up pretty well on scores, which is why I'll spoil it and just say I'm going to give it an 8. I enjoyed this movie. Like I've said, we haven't said the animated role in a second. Most animated movies start at about a 7. Standard. And usually can dive under if they're cheesing it up too much, looking at you, Shrek. If they just do just fine, cool, and then you're looking like if you're doing a little bit better, if you're doing really cool animation or doing something a little bit just more impressive than the average animation, then we're getting like Wolfwalkers, right? And we're like 7.5, right? I think 8 for
something
this.
Something unique.
Yes, something that I'm like, at least this is something, more unique in the animated world, right? Because everything is, especially when you're just passing through, looking over everything, it looks very samey. So, this is a movie I otherwise would have overlooked. So, this is the one time I'll give credit to Price for forcing my gun to our head to watch an animated movie.
It was.
This is definitely a movie I would have never watched otherwise.
Never.
It was loaded.
Yeah, it was. So, this is the one time where I'm like, you know what? I'm humble. I give praise whenever it's worthy. So you get it. There you go. Unlike the times where you pick movies that are just good and you take credit for the movies. That's not fair. That's shitty. Quit doing that. Yeah. You had nothing to do with Parasite or any of these other movies.
Top contenders.
Anyways. But this movie does a lot of things great. It does a great human story. It does tone. I've rambled on that at length at this point. All the side characters are really fun and engaging. This is a very well-balanced movie. This is one of the most well-balanced movies I've seen in a while. I think why I probably don't actually give it a full 8.5 is that, give me a rewatch, because 8.5 is like peak barrier for me before you're like showing me something really amazing. And this is just really, really good. I enjoyed my time with it. I didn't feel like my time was wasted, except for the first couple of minutes or so, but even that serves its purpose. So, 8. Nathan.
Alright, Nathan, it's you.
Do you want me to steal your thunder?
Yeah!
Do it!
I do!
The Lego Batman!
That should be our next sound.
Yeah, I mean, this movie's fantastic and extraordinary. I wasn't even like watching it in like
period. He didn't.
I wasn't watching it like large screen or anything like that. But regardless, visuals outstanding, music fantastic. Went along to like the pace of a lot of different moments very well. Story was really good. I really like Perito.
Perito's.
I really, really liked that scene that you were pointing out. If you hadn't pointed that out, I would have too. The whole thing was like calming him whenever he was freaking out, and like that very like calm, like solemn sort of moment.
Down to earth.
Perfect. Death, outstanding as a character. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, wonderful. Like that, all their dialogue is hilarious. Like her constantly calling out to baby, like baby smash, like you're smash, I'm grab, and like that being the moment when she saves him too. It's this movie's great. It's definitely one worth seeing.
All right, well I'll echo that. There it is again. But man,
He did call him Pero.
Okay, but anyway, I love this movie. I went in not with low expectations, but because the only reason I saw it is because a bunch of people were talking about it.
Low bar.
And absolutely loved it. I was transfixed the whole time. I've seen this movie since it came out last year. I think at least 4 times.
I
4 or
believe
5. Everything about this movie lends itself to a rewatch. After reading the trivia on this, and I'm saying this when it's my score because it doesn't really play into my 10, and I don't think it should play into scores either, but there's so many little tiny details that they put in. When Puss is drinking at the bar, there's apparently 8 empty cups, and he's drinking his 9th. Just to symbolize his lives that are there. There's those little tiny things that there's so much care that went into this movie.
The little notches on the sickles.
Especially in these animated kind of movies, especially American animated movies. You can tell when they're going for a cash grab. You can tell when there's we're riding off the coattails of something else. We're going to make 4 Shrek movies because we know people are going to watch it.
We know Price is going to watch it.
Price is going to.
And you just know when it is, but you can tell they pack so much love and care into each frame of this movie. There's no part of this movie where they skimped on it. Like what I was talking about earlier with the fight scene or whatever, with all the colors and everything, and then they blow up the setting to put in something else, and they use that setting for 2 seconds before they change it into something else. They didn't skimp on anything for this movie, and I don't know why. Why didn't they? This is a sequel to a movie that came out 12 years ago.
This is a movie that we just said we would never watch.
Never.
In a million years. Unless...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Puss in Boots 1 really did come out 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So, why would they put this much effort into a random sequel, pretty much, to a movie that, is pretty boring? Yeah. But they did. Nathan said, the music,
This is really the creed of this universe, isn't it?
Well, you could... Avatar is also an example of a movie that was really old, and they put a super high production back into it. But also, I imagine the first Puss in Boots was not the budget of the first Avatar.
Surely.
No, not at all.
First Puss in Boots was Turbo.
Yeah.
I think, was that DreamWorks?
Yeah.
That was a Turbo movie.
Yeah.
And this movie, just the whole thing is so fit, and they have so many characters. If you think how many characters they're balancing in this movie, it's truly incredible that they all feel like they have good enough screen time. Because out of the main cast, you have Puss, Kitty, Perito, Jack Horner, Goldie, and I'll count the other bears.
Goldie and the bears are one character.
So I'll count that as there's 6 main characters to this movie, and they balance it all so well in a way. I didn't count Death because I don't consider him a main character because he just kind of comes in and serves his purpose.
He's a force.
But they balance it all so well. Nothing lasts too long. Even that beginning part, I loved it. There's so many good lines. You meet Perito. And Perito kind of sets up that notion of this movie's presenting something to you, but it's giving you something else. Because you think he's going to be this annoying character. And by the end, you love him. He is awesome. He's just this very genuine, authentic character who's not being played for a laugh. He's not the joke of everything. Like we said with the panic attack scene earlier, he had the opportunity to raise up his shirt, show his hairy belly, and then play it for a laugh, but it didn't. the movie got to breathe for a second and really inject some emotion into it at that point, and really show the emotional intelligence of these characters. Because Kitty overhears this whole conversation, and she could be so mad right now and be like, "You stole the map and you were trying to run away. You always do this, like at Santa Coloma. Like, you try to always do this," but instead she overhears it and is like she plays it off like she didn't hear anything. Like, this from top to bottom, this movie is one, like, I would love to show kids, like you are saying. Like, it is kind of a kid's movie, in a sense. Like, maybe, like, 6, 7-ish, because there are some, like, bleeps. You're going to be like, why did they, like, he was saying his names, and he went, bleep for brains.
Yeah.
What does that bleep stand for? Like, oh, son, it means shit for brains. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So, like, it is a bit more of an older kid movie, but, like, it gives so much. It gives so much than those low-effort American animated movies that you would expect. There's a lot to delve into, and you can get something new from each rewatch of this movie. There's something that everybody can love, I think.
Critics actually gave it a 94.
Oh, I didn't see.
And I knew nobody was going to look it up.
What was the audience?
Also high?
96, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, 94, 96. People love this movie. It's a good movie. Now, this is going to be a good spin. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's like 3 options.
Get rolled here.
Nathan, I insist that you spin this one.
Oh, yeah. What's it going to be?
Oh, man.
Hope it's Willie's.
The suspense is killing me.
Willie's.
Damn.
Hey, that's actually
Guess review.
not quite perfectly lined up, but looks like we're watching
Willie's Wonderland. It's all that's left on the wheel. We got you, mother.
To cap off this wheel, we got Nicolas Cage. I think it's very fitting.
It's so fitting.
What a fitting way. He really brought this podcast together. He didn't. And he's gonna bring us out for this season. So make sure to hang tight for some more great content, because listen, Nick Cage, good or bad,
he's there.
We're talking about it.
Gonna show
Good
up.
or bad, he won't be saying a single word this whole movie.
Yep, it's gonna be a good time. If you like the content we're doing, always make sure to let us know with a big fat thumbs up. Make sure to let us know with a nice slap of that bell, Nathan.
Give it the fatty.
Thank you.
That knobby knee.
Let us know in the comments below. Did you not watch this movie because you were like, why would I? Same. If you agree with us, then great. If you did watch this movie, were you pleasantly surprised? Were you underwhelmed? Was death very cool for you? Did you think this movie was too anime? How dare they rip off Japan? And otherwise, make sure to tune in next week for Willy's Wonderland. I don't know if there's dong in it, but I hope it is. Bye.
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 There might
You
be
didn't
some
Oh,
animated,
there was Puss in this one.
not animated, animatronic
Man of
dolls.
taste.
I don't
We
know.
agreed.
Oh, yeah, there might be an animatronic.